Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm so glad you found me, and if you are currently overweight and pregnant and struggling, then this is the video for you. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here once again. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mel and this is my YouTube channel where I'm documenting my health journey with a specific focus on weight loss in the hopes that it will help other people out there on similar journeys. In my last video, which I'll link in the description below, I mentioned that I had fallen pregnant at a weight that was higher than what I wanted and planned for. And I said that was a topic that maybe I would talk about at a time when I was ready. But the truth is, it's always going to be an uncomfortable topic for me. But it is a big part of my health journey. And the whole point of this channel is to be genuine and transparent and honest about things that are going on. So it feels kind of weird not to talk about it. Plus, I know I felt pretty isolated when I found out that I was pregnant and also overweight. So I hope that this video helps someone out there who's in a similar position and just wants some advice or wants to feel less alone. But before I start, I just want to mention that I will be discussing some topics today that might be challenging for some people, depending on where they're at with their own journey. Things like pregnancy loss, pregnancy complications, infertility, things like that. So firstly, if that is you, I'm genuinely so sorry and I hope that changes for you. But just a gentle reminder that this may not be the best video for you to watch at this point. Okay, so I'm going to start with my story first for some context, but also to help other people feel less alone because I'm sure parts of my story will resonate with you. And I know I was desperate to find a video like this when I found out that I was pregnant, so I'm trying to be part of the solution. However, if you just want the tips, that's fine, and I'll put a timestamp for that in the description below and you can just skip to that part. So I discovered through discussing pregnancy with a few doctors and also Googling it way too many times that being overweight or obese while you're pregnant can put you at higher risk of things like gestational diabetes, preeclampsia, miscarriage, stillbirth, and other scary pregnancy complications. I spoke with one doctor who suggested that I lost 20 kilos before we even started trying for a family. And being 34, I was already very conscious of the old
ticking biological clock.
And then I spoke with another doctor who said we definitely shouldn't wait and we should start trying right away. And guess what? We liked the second answer better. So fast forward through the prenatal vitamins, the blood test, the ovulation tracking, we were very grateful and very lucky to fall pregnant. And the way I found out I was pregnant was a huge surprise because I was in a very bad mood, very crampy, very tired, and a bit disappointed that obviously my period must be around the corner and I wasn't pregnant. So I thought I would treat myself to a massage, but I read that you should be careful of massage and pregnancy, so I thought I would do a pregnancy test just in case, even though I knew I was just about to get my period. So I did a test and it turned out to be positive. And I had envisioned this moment so many times. I had this whole plan mapped out as to how I would announce it in a really cute way to my partner and it would be full of excitement and joy. But it didn't quite go like that. Instead, my insides froze, my mouth went dry, and my stomach tied itself up in knots. I did another test. Positive again. I started crying. I was so confused. I wanted to be pregnant. We wanted to start a family. This was literally a best case scenario, yet I was so scared and panicky. And I realized pretty quickly it was because my wonderful anxious brain had gone into damage control and was plotting out all my worst fears and worst case scenarios in front of me. Suddenly, all the articles I'd read about being overweight and having a higher risk of pregnancy complications popped into my mind. And at that moment, I couldn't envisage the healthy baby and the happy little family because all I could think about were the risks and worst case scenarios. And I spiraled. I was so anxious I felt sick. And I was also very hormonal at this time as well. And obviously the worst thing to do in this situation would be to Google it. So I did. And all the articles I could find were these grim warnings about pregnancy risk. No good news stories. Just doom and gloom and suggestions to just not get pregnant until you lose weight. And it was obviously a bit late for that. And then the guilt piled on because how dare I be anything other than blissfully happy? We had wanted to start a family. We had wanted to fall pregnant. And here I was, pregnant, yet I had the audacity to be scared. Anyway, at this point, I was overwhelmed with emotion. I was happy, but I was also scared. I was surprised. I felt guilty. It was a lot. So I booked in with a doctor for the next day to get some blood tests done to confirm the pregnancy. And it wasn't my usual GP because it was a last minute appointment. And look, I'm sure this doctor was trying her best, but she was probably the last doctor I should have seen on that day. Because even though I'd had overnight to calm myself down, the panic had risen up again. I was stressed, I was crying, I felt like a terrible mother already, and all of those heightened emotions heightened my blood pressure. So for the first time in my life, my blood pressure measured high. At which point this doctor told me to be very, very careful because high blood pressure can lead to preeclampsia later on in pregnancy, which can put my life and the baby's life in danger.
Oh, cool. No doubt.
So there I was, just hoping for some blood test forms, maybe some reassurance that I would be okay. Desperately trying not to cry, and all I can hear is that my worst fears are slowly being confirmed, which is very dramatic, really, but it's how I felt at the time. And then the icing on the cake was that this doctor went on to say that if I got severe morning sickness and couldn't keep any food down, that would actually be really good for me because it would help me lose weight. So as you can imagine, I left the doctor's office feeling less than reassured. Anyway, I gradually started feeling better and the panic and the fear slowly subsided. But it was very gradual with good days and bad days, and even now at 38 weeks pregnant, I still have my moments of intrusive thoughts and anxiety. But I can honestly say that my experience of pregnancy has improved each week, and it does get easier and you do get more confident. I'm so much happier and calmer now, and I've been really trying to make the most of these precious months of pregnancy. Which brings me to the second part of this video, which are my 6 top tips for anyone who is overweight and pregnant and having a tough time with it. But just remember that these tips are based on my experience, and I am not a doctor or medically trained in any way, shape, or form. So, tip number 1 is acceptance. If you're watching this and in a similar position, just remember that what's done is done. Right now, on this day, you are overweight and you are pregnant, and there is nothing you can do about that. And I don't mean that to sound like too bad, suck it up. I just found it really useful to keep that in mind because it really removes the pressure of trying to fix the situation. I couldn't, nor can you, immediately fix that fact. So don't dwell on it because nothing beneficial or positive can come from that. Instead, try focusing on things that you can control, like trying to have the healthiest pregnancy you can, exercising in a safe way, getting enough sleep, getting enough water, nourishing yourself as best you can. So to be clear, I'm not suggesting that being pregnant and overweight is great fun and no risk at all and highly recommended. All I'm saying is if you are overweight and you are pregnant, accept what you can and can't control and just hone in on making the best decisions you can. Anything else is a waste of time. Tip number 2, stay away from Google. You want your information from a trusted medical professional who understands your own individual medical and health situation. Someone you trust, someone that you can confide in about feeling anxious about your pregnancy due to your weight, and someone who is kind and respectful, but also honest with you. You are allowed to experience pregnancy just like everyone else. And you don't need to try and diminish your experience or make it appear better than it really is. You are a person and you are a patient, and you need to be able to freely and honestly discuss your pregnancy with your healthcare provider. In my case, I've been really lucky. My obstetrician has been absolutely brilliant. She's kind and supportive, but she's also realistic and honest. For example, at our first appointment, she asked me my height and my weight, but she hasn't weighed me or asked me about it since. But she was also honest, and she explained that I was at high risk of gestational diabetes, so I would need to get an early onset test as well as the normal one that everyone else does. She's kept a close eye on me and my risk factors, but she hasn't made me worry about them or think about them any more than necessary, and that has made such a difference to my pregnancy experience. Tip number 3, get excited and get motivated. What better time to make your health a priority? Eat more plants, walk more, get more sleep, cut back on stressful work, practice mindfulness and gratitude. The months of pregnancy don't have to be a time for inevitable mass weight gain and tiredness and despair where all your health goals have to go on hold. For me, I exercised more regularly and ate better, I guess. I nourished myself in a better way on a more consistent basis during pregnancy than I had before pregnancy, because being pregnant gave me this extra edge of motivation and I was able to stay consistent for a longer period. So use it to your advantage. Pregnancy doesn't have to mean your health goals go on hold. It can, in fact, mean the exact opposite. And on that note, I also highly recommend regular pregnancy safe exercise during pregnancy. It made such a difference to my pregnancy in terms of mental health, but also in terms of mobility and strength and preventing pregnancy aches and pains. And it's never too late to start. Just make sure you run any exercise plans past your care provider before you get started. Tip number 4, I'm here giving you permission, if that helps, to skip the guilty feelings. If you're trying really hard to eat well during pregnancy, but you also have terrible nausea and food aversions, and you can't eat anything but plain toast and rice crackers for a few weeks, so be it. If you're trying to move your body each day, but you're exhausted or you feel sick or you've got really intense ligament pain and you skip a few walks or workouts, don't worry about it. Guilt is not a helpful emotion in these scenarios. It adds no value and it has no purpose. It'll just drag you down and detract from what should be a really exciting time. That being said, if you're not having a good time and you aren't excited, don't feel bad about that either. Pregnancy is a wild ride and we all experience it differently. Even the same person can experience different pregnancies in completely different ways. Some days are good, some days are not so good. And we also have an insane amount of hormones circling around and bodily changes occurring all the time. There's a lot going on. So feel how you feel and don't feel guilty about it. Tip number 5, avoid comparing your pregnancy. I know everyone does this to some extent, but trust me, it is not helpful. If your doctor or midwife says that all is good, then don't worry about what other pregnant people are doing or experiencing. Maybe it takes a bit longer for you to feel baby movements. Maybe your bump looks different to other people. Maybe you feel more tired or nauseous than other pregnant people you know. Don't compare, because pregnancy looks different for everyone. I, for one, was very self-conscious about my baby bump looking a bit different to other people's because it wasn't on a small frame. And I just looked really bloated and chubby for a while until I really popped. And I knew it shouldn't matter, but it got the best of me sometimes. But now I love my bump, even if it does look a bit different to other people's. So as long as you're medically in the clear and keeping an eye on things, there's no wrong or right. And finally, tip number 6, and this is a big one. Don't let your weight define your pregnancy. Yes, you may be overweight and pregnant. And yes, we know that there are health risks associated with being overweight in life in general, and that is also true of pregnancy. But pregnancy is an amazing experience. And it's an honor. It may be one of the hardest things you do, but it is nothing short of incredible. And none of us know for sure if we'll be able to experience it again. So make the most of it. Enjoy it. Be proud of it. Talk about it. Think about it. Document it. Whatever you want to do it. Don't hold back or punish yourself because you fell pregnant at a weight that you hadn't planned on, because that is an awful way to treat yourself. And don't automatically assume that every symptom you're experiencing is because of your weight. I personally feel like I did that a lot, especially in early pregnancy. And I wanted to be reassured that the negative symptoms that I was experiencing were because of pregnancy and not because of my weight. Like, am I really tired or am I just lazy? And am I really having strong food aversions towards steak and veggies, or am I just making excuses so I can eat more carbs? So I would go on social media and scroll until I saw people of a normal weight who also said they were tired and also said they had food aversions and were craving sugar and carbs. And then I would feel validated. And that's not how you want to spend your pregnancy. So that brings us to the end of this video. And I really hope that me sharing my experience with you and letting you know that it does get better and that you're not alone, and sharing some of my tips has made you feel even a tiny bit better than before you watched this video. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.